Judge Jackson's confirmation is historic for any number of reasons. It can't be said often enough that she's the first Black woman in the 233-year history of the Supreme Court. Judge Jackson's confirmation is the first time that we'll have two African Americans sitting on the court at the same time, Justice Thomas and soon to be Justice Jackson. It's the first time that 4 women have served on the Supreme Court concurrently. What you end up with almost always on the Supreme Court of prosecutors. She's the first justice to have served as a federal public defender. And what experts say is look, this is an adversarial system, and there are 2 ways of looking at a criminal case, and that there's real value in having somebody who can understand how these cases work from the defendant's point of view, and having spent some time with these defendants and understanding how these cases affect real people is a real shift in perspective, I think, for the court. Jackson's confirmation was just far more smooth than many of the most recent ones. Of course, that is partially due to the candidates, partially due to the president who nominated them. President Trump brought in 3 nominees. That's a pretty remarkable number for a one-term president. And because President Trump had this opportunity to shift the balance of the court from a 5-4 court to a 6-3 court, there was just a lot more focus on his nominees. You, of course, had Justice Kavanaugh, who dealt with allegations of sexual misconduct, decades-old allegations. He denied them, but still, that became a huge part of the narrative. And then Barrett, she was the first nominee in modern times to be confirmed with just the majority party in the Senate. She picked up no Democratic votes. That's pretty unusual. Usually they get 3 or 4. And so I think that Jackson's confirmation, by comparison, has been relatively smooth. Experts will note, and they're right, that her confirmation does not change the ideological balance of the court. It's still a 6-3 court, with conservatives having the 6, liberals having the 3, right? So in that sense, I don't anticipate it changing a lot of these big blockbuster cases. Oftentimes, the Senate is replacing a seat that's already vacant or that will be vacant on a pretty quick turnaround. Justice Breyer announced in January that he would step down in June, and Jackson's going to cool her heels until he actually steps down from the court.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today to stay up to date with all the latest news.